Okay, I think we're starting. Hi, everyone. If you're watching or recording, do fast forward here another minute before we get started. Okay. Oh, it looks like we are up and live. And just pulling out some of the tools I'm going to need for today. Should be okay. Let's see, what are we doing? We're doing a UFO today. Okay. All right, honey, you ready? Okay. So it sounds like Twitch is lagging behind. No surprise there. Seems to always be challenging lately. That said, it is Wednesday. Today is the day before St. Patrick's Day. Now, had you asked me a week ago, I would have told you St. Patrick's Day was on the 7th. I don't know what the heck I was thinking. But in any case, you know, it's COVID still, and my brain still doesn't work properly. That's where we are. So happy early St. Patrick's Day for tomorrow. I'm wearing my green ring. I don't typically wear green, but I thought, hey, why not? I've got my green ring in honor of St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. This would be a class at some point. I don't know when, but it's just an unusual stone setting. A little bit different as to how you can set that. Anyway, I love this. I don't know why, but I'm loving this stone. It just sort of glows. But that's going to be coming up. Okay. That said, today is UFO Wednesday, where I work on usually other people's projects that have been sent in, unfinished objects, right? So they couldn't finish it, so I typically have been finishing other people's work until the last couple of rounds, where I have been working on my own projects. Andy wanted to say hi to everyone and also let you all know that Twitch is up and running at this point. So anyway, so now I'm working on my own UFOs. You know, I typically don't really admit to having too many UFOs, but I guess I do. I mean, there's projects here that's just sort of been sitting here waiting for a home because I just didn't finish it, or because I stopped liking it for some reason. And this is one of them. So I made this cup at least 12 years ago. This is like one of the first things I made. Actually, let's see. So I was looking at something and discovered that, okay, I've been doing this for about 14 years. Oh, I know what I was looking at. I was looking at this. I had a tube of IT solder in my drawer, and I was going to do a different project, and I was going to use this solder, but then decided that I'm doing something else today. But I noticed that the date on there was 2008, which means I've been doing this for at least 14 years. I think it's more like 15 at this point. But anyway, so that's a story. And so this project has probably been sitting around for 14 or 13 years, which means the price of silver back then was like, I don't know, $7. So I think this was all of, $5 worth of material. At this point, it's probably like $20 worth of material. That said, it was a little too Wonder Woman for me. So I had soldered all these jump rings together with a bunch of granules, and it was going to be a bracelet like this. And I was like, I can't say I loved it. Didn't really think it was great. My soldering job wasn't great either, but as I was looking at things in my drawer that I just need to, get rid of, I was like, you know what? I wonder what this would be like as a ring. I think it could be a lot of fun. So I'm going to go ahead and reverse solder this. Let's see. What side do I want to do? I want to do this side. I'm going to reverse solder this and see if I can turn it into a ring. But when you make something like this, just as a discussion point here, I soldered all the jump rings together flat, and then I soldered all the granules onto it, also flat, and then I bent it. Therein lies the problem. My soldering job was not very good, and notice I'm missing some granules, and if you look really closely, we won't tighten in on that shot. There's no reason to go there. You'll see that my joints broke here, right in the middle, of course. And so you got to be really careful when you're doing this kind of thing. Okay, so that said, make sure that you have really, really, really tight solder joints. Okay, I'm going to go ahead just let's see, maybe I'll just put it on here. Might be a little bit better. I am just going to reverse solder this one to get started because I don't know how much material I really need to make this ring. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of extra room, and I'm going to use my Gentec today because I got that up and running. Yay! So we'll just heat up everything a little bit. I put a little flux on there, of course. What's going on here? Oop! I put a little flux on there just to get that solder up and moving again. There we go. And I'm choosing to use a Gentec because I know that my next few joints are going to be really, really small, right? So I'll walk you through my design thoughts here in a second, as soon as I get this. Reverse soldered, unsoldered. There we go. Give it a little quench. So at first what I was thinking was that I would add gemstones to this, or CZs, in between, just to add a little something something to it. But then I was like, hey, you know what? Let's just continue using the material that we have. So I have a bunch of scrap here. I was going to make a bunch of jump rings. Okay, pray for me. I'm hoping that this is going to, that all the joints hold and will bend around. Anyway, so I was thinking about making a bunch of jump rings and just put them in there to add a little something something. But then I decided, wow, that's going to be a perfect 7. Who knew? Okay, and then I decided that, you know, why do that when I have all the scrap material? And for me, this is like already really plain, and I wanted to add a little bit more depth to it. Additionally, it's such a big ring, such a wide ring. I didn't want it to be too plain. I wanted a big, bold ring. I don't know why I'm doing bold rings these days, but just go with it, okay? So here, I bent it around, and it looks like this is going to be a perfect fit. So, or, you know, I could have left this open if I wanted to, but we're going to challenge ourselves today and see what we can do. Okay, so a little bit more flux on the other end. Oops. And we'll reverse solder that. Actually, here, I'll tighten in a little bit for you. So I'm going to heat up the 2 rings that are connected to it. There we go. Of course, I knew I was going to take a granule with it. So we'll go ahead and take that granule off because we'll use it again. There we go. Set this aside, and then we'll quench this. Okay. Zoom back out. Okay, so I have a lot of solder already on here, which is great, which means I don't need to add any more solder onto this to make it work. I lost my towel. We'll just use this one. Okay, so we'll bend it around some more, around that 7. It's gonna be a hair bigger, but it's okay. We'll go with that. And we'll bring this around. I don't think it's gonna be, maybe it's a 7.5, let's see. It's more like a 7.5, okay. Again, just sort of working with what I have here. And I'm just moving it so that they come together. Okay, so here I have so much solder that it's not it's not coming together. It won't touch. So I'm going to do something I tell everybody not to do. I'm going to hold this together while I solder because I think it's going to collapse. Once the solder flows, I think I can bring it together just by pinching it like so, okay? So a little bit more flux. So this is a little tricky. Yes, I'm tempting the solder gods. It is what it is. Okay, so I'm going to dry it a little bit. There's a little puddle of flux there. You can see that. And just going to gently heat around it just to get everything a little hot. I think I got it. A little extra something something there. There we go. Brilliant. And that's how you do it. Okay, I'm going to quench this, shape it, and then pickle it. So I want to make sure that this joint was, yeah, you can see it. The joint's really nice. It's amazing what happens if you give yourself a little bit of time and experience of how things change. Remember that when you're working, okay? That sometimes you just need a little bit more experience. It just hasn't caught up to what your ideas are. That's important to remember. A lot of people forget that part. Okay. I'm being gentle. I'm hoping that I don't break anything while I'm doing this. And it is actually going to end up a lot bigger than that 7 that I thought. I'm at an 8. It'll be too big for me. Is it going to be too big for me? Ooh. Oh, wait. Okay, there we are. Woohoo. All right, we're going to stick this in the pickle. So then my next thought was, okay, so I was going to add gemstones to it. We'll use this one as a sample. So I was thinking that would be really fun just to haphazardly put gemstones, like tube sets, all over and dot it. And then I felt, you know, honestly, it seems a little bit too expected. So I wanted to approach it a little bit differently. And so then I started pulling out wires to make jump rings. And while I was doing that, I discovered that, gee, I have all of these wires already, twisted wire and all kinds of different shaped wires. So I went, you know, why don't I just make them into jump rings, right? And then put all these different twisted jump rings onto, I add it to that ring and soldered on. So yes, I understand. I am absolutely tempting the solder gods as I'm doing this because I'm adding a lot of little parts to everything. And anytime you add little bits and pieces, it's going to be a little challenging, right? So I'm just going to make jump rings in different sizes. Again, just trying to add a little bit of interest to the process. And using what I have. Like I even have this little tiny bit of bead wire. So let's make that into something. I hope it doesn't break. Actually, it seems like it can go a bit bigger, so I want to use up the wire. I don't want to waste anything. Oh, good. Bead wire is a bit fragile, so you got to be careful not to be bending, because it's just not going to last. It's like a twist tie. It will break. It's just a matter of time. So try to bend it as little as possible. Okay. So there's another jump ring, there's another jump ring. We'll use this guy too. Let's see if this guy, okay, so this is twisted wire. You know what? That's not going to go anywhere. Oof. Okay, so this is a triple twisted wire. It has 2 twisted wires and 1 plain wire twisted together to make this pretty thing. So as I'm bending it, you can see it's coming off. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and run some solder from this end to the other just to keep it together so I can use it. Perfectly reasonable thing to do. So I'm just going to take a little bit of hard solder and do that. Anytime I can use hard solder, I will use hard solder because I just feel like it saves grief later on and that I'm not, you know, I'm not pushing my luck, right? So we'll just put a little hard solder on one end and we're just going to try to run it down to the other end. Just going to heat the whole thing like so. There it goes. Okay, it did not run all the way down like I had hoped. So we'll go ahead and put a little bit more. I'm going to put some on this end. I know most people would have pickled it at this point. Not me. Solder paste is a lot more forgiving than you think. Okay. Okay. Twisted wire has a tendency to eat up your solder, soak up the solder. So sometimes you just need a little bit more. All right, let's go down here. Let's make a couple more rings out of what we have. I don't know what this is going to look like. We're just going to go with it, right? Again, just sort of haphazardly making different size rings. I feel like I already made one that size. Let's go up one more. Oops. Which way do I want to cut this? I want to follow, when you're doing a twist, you want to follow the twist when you cut it. It'll make for a much better joint, like so. Okay, so there we go. How many more wires do I have? I have a couple. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I don't even know how many rings I have. So let's go with this. Let's just work them together and see if we can get that. I'm going to pull out my needle file and do a little bit of filing on the ends to get these together really nicely, and then we'll solder them all so that they have nice connections and then don't have to worry about them coming apart or anything like that. Okay, just gonna work it like so. I'm gonna bring it in tighter so you can see what's going on here. You see, you can see my joint. It's really nice. Make it nice and seamless. Set that aside. Okay. Again, just trying to get that joint to come together nicely. And I see that my cut is slightly different between the two, so I'm going to trim this off just a little bit more and see if I can get that together. So if you're watching for the first time, do jump on over to the Q Talk Facebook page and you'll see all the other videos that I have posted for the last 102 weeks. Actually 104 weeks. Can you believe it? We've come on 2 years. Here we are, 2 years. 102 weeks out of 104. I think we're doing okay. I think we're doing okay. Where we go from here, that's a question. Don't know. What was our goal? You know, we were talking about this last weekend. I say we, meaning a friend and I were talking about this last week, and I don't know what the goal is here. You know, when we started this 2 years ago, I had stated, you know, I've always wanted to go virtual, and I've been wanting to do this for a long time, except, you know, life is really busy when you're traveling every 2 to 3 weeks. And so with the pandemic, that was a positive thing for me, is with the pandemic, it forced me into doing something that I wanted to do, albeit not exactly prepared to do. So, oh well, I jumped in with both feet, and actually I would say I jumped in head first. And here we are. I know. It's crazy. Let's see. Let's make this guy a little bigger also. See, this is a hazard of using scrap material. So I hope you all enjoyed Deb Perry's demo on Monday. I think she did pretty well. Believe it or not, I did watch portions of it. And no, nothing really, you know, for her first time, I think she did really well. I hope you guys learned a little something. Deb always has something to bring to the table. And I'm pretty sure she mentioned that her classes are available at virtuallyevercrafting.com. By the way, kits are getting sent out this week, so if you haven't registered yet, chop chop, if you want those kits to get there in time. You know, if you live in some place weird, do reach out to the instructors and see if they can send it a little bit early for you. Just ensure that you get it on time. We have it scheduled so that it gives us 10 days to get you your kits. I know it's wonky, but I'll fix it after I solder it. Okay. So let's see, well, how many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6, which means I have 1 to spare. Might add a few more after this. I don't know, but let's get those all soldered up. Again, going to continue to use hard solder. Okay. Problem with making joints too well is that you can't find the opening. So I'm going to face everything out to this side, and hopefully, okay, I'm like, hopefully I'll remember where the joints are. Oh my goodness, where is this joint? It has to be here. Okay. That's so bad, I know. It's so bad that I couldn't find my own joint. Thanks, Janet. So thank you all for sort of hanging out with me here, and you know, who knew that you would still be here 2 years later. Next thing you know, I'm going to be like, oh, we're all old and gray. We're still here. Is the pandemic over yet? That's how I feel right now. It'll be over. It's over. It's almost over. That's positive thinking there. Okay. Let's get a pair of tweezers. Move our tools out. Solder one at a time. Okay, so each one's getting soldered individually. Here we go. Try not to melt or break anything. This happens really quickly because I'm using a Gentec, and we're burning at what, like 3,500 degrees. I'm using natural gas today and oxygen. I know a lot of you are looking for an oxygen concentrator. It's really hard to find because of the pandemic, but they'll come back. It's just a matter of time. Okay, so those are all done. I'm going to try reshaping them first before throwing them in the pickle, just in case they break open. I want to know. I don't know why, but I always want to know if my solder joint takes before I throw it into the pickle. Okay, that's one. Oh, come on. Okay, so this one is too small to go into my mandrel. Let's see, we'll put it in maybe here. See if I can get that rounded back out. Oh, come on. Okay, let's find something tapered that I can push this out on. Oh, you know, I just had a thought. Haha! Bow opening pliers. Okay, so this is a little oval. I can see that. Let's see if I can get that to be, if I can use it to round it out just a little bit. Not something you would typically do, but since I don't have a mandrel, we're going to get creative, right? A mandrel that fits this ring. Okay, well that mandrel is too small now. What else do I have sitting around here that I can use? Oh, I know. It's all about using what you got. Let's see. Do you think? Oh, yeah. Look at that. So this is my center punch. It's steel. Let's see if I can get that rounded. And look, I just discovered one that I didn't solder. Oops. Okay, a lot better. Let's round these guys out. Not the most ideal use of my tool, but it works and it shouldn't hurt it, right? There we go. This will do. So I'm just rounding out all these jump rings to make sure that they are nice. So what do you guys use when you don't have the right mandrel? A dowel rod? But what if the dowel rod's not big enough? Let's see. Send me your suggestion. How creative is everybody getting to do this? Okay. So Asia's she's with me on the center punch too. Great way to use it. Hi Asia. Call me. Anyway, she's out in Utah. We miss her at Virtually Ever Crafting this time, but she'll be back in October for sure. Let's see, lost my tool. Clearly this one popped open. I'm going to have to resolder it, which is okay. And since I have two to solder anyway, we'll throw these into the pickle, and then we're going to solder them all together here in just a minute. So someone says you can use your DAP, so I'm assuming the steel DAP. Yeah, but the DAP's somewhat problematic because it's not tapered. You know, what if you need to sort of squeeze it in to get it stretched out again? That's a question. And then what was the other one, honey? So someone suggested using their compass to stretch thinner wire jump rings. I think what they mean to say is a divider. And that's a really interesting use of a divider because, you know, a divider, you have to twist it. I show you, but my divider went that way this morning. Yep, it's on the other workbench. But you twist it and it spreads apart, sort of like the bow opening plier, but with a little more control. Yeah, you know what? Now that you say that, you could use said divider and stretch it to make it into an oval too. Ha! Another use for your divider. So oval jump rings, if you don't have bow opening pliers, then you can use your divider to do that. Never thought about using it that way. Like it. All right. So this guy's going right into the pickle. This guy needs to be stretched out and rounded. If you don't have, oh, did I break it? Oh, I broke it. Ooh. If you don't have a center punch that is not self-tapping on your workbench, you need to get a center punch that's not self-tapping because there are a lot of uses for it, believe it or not. And they're only $3 at theurbanbeater.com. Okay. One more time. This guy opened up, broke open. There you go. All right, we'll just throw him right into the pickle and we'll grab the other pieces out and let's lay them out. Yes, I do have a strainer in my pickle. Otherwise, I'd be sitting here for days trying to fish out all of these little jump rings. And we know we don't have time for that. Alrighty. They look good. I'm pretty happy. This one is not as round as I'd like it to be. Let's see if I can fix that just a teeny weeny bit. The gauge of this bead wire is really heavy, so it's not wanting to do what I want it to do. So I'm going to put in, nope, too big. Where are my chain nose pliers? I don't know. I'm going to put in my chain nose pliers and see if I can open that up a little bit and reshape it. Just a teeny weeny little bit. Yeah, not bad. Not great either, but not bad. Okay, are we happy with this? So what I'm thinking is I'm just gonna haphazardly, ooh, maybe I made these too big. I was gonna put these inside and not really think too much about where I was going to place them. I think these are too big. Okay, let's see what happens. We'll start with a couple. You gotta start somewhere. You know, sometimes you just sort of gotta jump in and do it. Okay. There we are. Are you nice and flat? Not particularly. Like so. Okay, should I put it on top or should I put it inside is the question. You know what? I think I'm going to do it on top. I think I'm going to give this a little bit of a bend. It gives it a little bit more depth and dimension. Right? So what I'm doing is I'm giving it a bend. So that it bends with the ring and makes a good connection. Or some connection anyway. I can always hammer that down if I solder it properly. If. Okay, so I got 1 vote for putting it on top. So yes, I think that's what I'm going to do. Look for a little bit of medium solder here. Okay, and we'll add that with medium solder. So I just sort of want this to be a little bit over the top, right? Tweezers, we're right here. So I can see where it was touching, so I'm just going to put solder in those 2 places. And then I'm going to solder this. This piece is actually sticking up. I don't know if you can see that, but it's actually sticking up. So I'm putting ample amount of solder down. I should be able to tap it back down after I solder. I know. I'm asking for it. I was asking for it when I made this in the first place. Let's go with that. So we're going to heat that whole base ring first. And you see solder was already jumping to the top because the top is a lot thinner than the bottom. So I'm going to heat down below because there's a bit of heat sink on this mandrel, of course. Anytime you put something on something else, there will always be some heat sink. See, I can see it is not making a connection. And I'm not completely clear I have enough bulk in this to make it, meaning bulk in the solder to make it connect. Let's see. Because the solder keeps going to the top wire. If you notice how I'm heating down below. Boy, I don't think that's connected. Oh, I think it is connected. I just don't see it. But this one is a little bit more. There we go. Try not to heat anything else up while I'm at it, right? Let's quench that and see what happens. Oh, no. Huh. All right, well, in the pickle you go. That needs to be pickled. You are doing okay. Let's try that one more time. See what happens here. With a different piece. Okay. Put the torch down. This is going to be more challenging than I thought. Gee. So this one would just sort of sit like that. Another pair of tweezers, please. Because I could see that the solder got sucked up into that top ring. So it didn't make the connection. So you know what I'm going to do? This time, I'm going to go ahead and heat this up first before I put the jump ring on, the twisted jump ring on, and get it nice and hot, but not quite to flow, and hope that that will do the trick. See, you can already see that that jump ring is getting really hot, that little one, but yet my other piece is not doing it. Jiminy crickets. Wow. Okay. Still not hot enough. So let's go back and heat it. See, it's not even wanting to heat now. You know, I'm going to heat my mandrel just to get that nice and hot so that I reduce the heat sink. Wow. Wow, does not want to do it. How do we get around that? You see, it wants to melt. You can totally see that. All right, you know, I'm going to put some more flux on here. And see if I can get that to flow. Because the solder is on that large ring, but it doesn't want to flow. There we go. Okay, there we go. Whew. So it actually flowed right there, and it flowed right there. Okay, so this thing is really hot right now. So I'm just going to turn it over. And you can see that joint. You can see it, that it did flow right there. All right, so let's try this again. I think you're too big. We'll do it like that. I'm going to go ahead and get it hot. Again, I'm going to get the mandrel hot, and then I'm going to get my ring hot before I do anything. Because that seems to be, the struggle is real. Okay, seems to be hot enough. Yes, just hotter. So now it's just a matter of making sure that the connection is good. Okay. Again, heat everything. Get nice and hot. And I'm not pickling because I'm not feeling really a big need to. Everything seems really clean, and actually these jump rings are a little bit big, so I'm going to trim them down just a little bit first. Because I sort of want it to sit inside. I want a contrast, right? So if it's the same size, it doesn't do much. This is me being really, really fluid with the design process and working with it as I go. These pieces are so small, it's going to be really hard to try to bend around a mandrel, so I'm going to work it with my pliers. Okay, so there's a bit of a gap. Let's see if I can fix that. There we go. And I think I can just do it without soldering it. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to go ahead and put some solder right at that joint so that it fills up nicely. Okay, and then I will put a little bit of solder on the ring and then put it down, but we're going to heat it first. I'm heating the mandrel just to reduce heat sink. Let's see, where's this going to go? So here and here. Yes, it's a ton of solder. I'm going to put this right on it here. Again, I'm heating just the ring. I'm not the big ring. I'm not heating the small twisted ring at all because there's plenty of residual heat and I need the solder to go to that big ring. That's important right now. Unless of course I can't. And it did get sucked into the it got sucked into the twisted ring, but we're going to keep going. See if I can ask it to come back down. Come on. Again, this is the hazard of using twisted wire. Some of you know this one really well. Okay, maybe we'll just pray. All right, I'm gonna grab the other one out of the pickle. Oh, the other two out of the pickle. I guess I had two in there. This one ought to be good. And this, I'm missing, I'm missing some granules, so I better put those on there, right? Let's see. Here's one. I'm going to put those on first. Okay, I have one granule. I wonder where the other one is. Whoops. Always tricky when you're playing with round things, right? They all want to roll off. Okay, where's my other one? If I were a granule, are you big enough? You know what, I'm gonna reshape that one real quick here. He's a little flat, so I'm just gonna heat it up and get him round, just like that. Perfect. Okay, put him. Okay, he's wet, so we'll go ahead and heat it up. And put it right there. Heat it, and I am using hard solder again. And just making sure that they make a good connection. So that ball's really large and the rings are a little bit smaller, so it's wanting to suck right into the ring without making the connection to the granule. There we go. Did you connect? Maybe. See, I don't see a good connection, although it feels stuck. So I'm just going to heat it some more. And I'm actually going to move it down the mandrel just to hold it up off of the mandrel, oops, to reduce the heat sink. Okay, there we are. So So this should be really nice and hot. We'll go ahead and heat this up and put this right on here. So now we'll switch again to a little bit of medium solder and get this to happen right here. Come on. Okie dokie, maybe not. Come on. Wow. Well, I think that's where it's staying. Okie dokie. All right. It looks pretty connected there. You know, remember, I was trying to be a little organic about this. Throw this guy in here. Okay, so this guy's still a little bit big. I'm going to cut him down one more time. Okay. I know, as if I didn't struggle enough with it that I need to do it again. We're just being nuts, right? Sorry. Touch the mandrel. It's a little bit hot. Let's see, what size are you? You're good. Okay. And this time again, I don't think I'm going to solder this closed because the joint came together really nicely and I don't need the leverage to make this round. This is about as round as it's going to get. Put a little bit of solder on here. And I also see that this connection right here on this granule is not great, so I'm just going to put some solder right in there and get that soldered together. Get that heated. Let's go ahead and get the solder flowing over here first. And make sure this is connected. Oh, nice. I love it when it just sort of comes together. I'm going to put a little bit of solder on this one to close it, to help close it before we put it down. Okay. Heat it, get it going really nice and hot before we put it down. Come on, there we go. Maybe. Okay, it's about establishing connections. All right, I know it looks like crud. Let's see what happens once we pickle it and see if it polishes up. Well, I guess we need to see whether or not they all soldered. Were you holding your breath? I was. Oops. I got something stuck in my drawer. Okay, there we are. All right, in the pickle for just a minute, and let's see if it worked. Woohoo! So what else is going on? Today is Wednesday, which means, oh, the Zoom this week is petrified, and that's coming up on Saturday. You can still register for the Zoom. There are still a couple kits available if you want that, but it won't make it in time for the class. But you can definitely order that at theurbanbeater.com. And then on Monday, I'll be back. I'm going to finish up that, or I'm going to readdress that castellated bezel. We've had some time to think about it. I've talked to Robert about it. Robert Lopez, it is. Shout out. And I'm gonna readdress it and see what we can do to actually get it done. And you know, Robert did send out a couple of tips. He came up with some low-tech tools that you can use to make it. And I'm going to give it a try and see if I can get that to happen too. I'll work on that. So that's Monday. So I'm pretty excited about that, to make my first castellated bezel. Okay, well, you finished pickling already? My pickle's a little bit, my pickle's a little shallow today. Oops, didn't add enough water. Okay, give it another minute here. Almost there. Okay. As we're cleaning up as we go, because I'm a little OCD, as we all know. Okay, let's check that again. Okay, so this joint's okay. It's not great. It only has one connection here. I'm gonna have to readdress that. Ooh, this one just broke off. Oh boy. This one will likely break off too. That one's on. That one's on. Okay, so I've 3 out of 5 have to be redone. All right, I'm gonna try to finish this. We've got 5 minutes before the hour. Let's see if I can get this done. Actually, I'm gonna check on the granules too before I do anything. Okay, so like this granule is not, are you attached? I don't think you're attached. Let me see. You're slightly attached. Okay, so I'm gonna check on the granules, make sure they're all attached before moving forward. All right, so this guy here, oh, just fell off. Okie dokie. I'm going to go to easy solder at this point. And we're just going to try it again. See if we can get it to flow. So this is not going to be a great soldering job, but you know, it's good practice. It's a skill builder, and you learn a little something. I learned whether or not I have the skill to do this. Again, I'm going to heat this mandrel to reduce the heat sink. There, that's a connection. Let's see. Almost, come on. Yeah, I'm tilting it just so I can get under there, because I can't seem to get under there. So let's turn it this way. Oh, it did connect, good. Let's see. Ooh, yay. Okay. What did I decide about this guy? Does this guy need to be done too? Yep, this guy's gonna break off just like that. Get it nice and hot. Now remember, I just quenched this, so I'm going to heat everything up because water is not your friend. all nice and hot. Just right about when it is ready to flow, I'm going to throw this on. So, question is, do we sell these soldering mandrels? No, I've not been able to find distribution on it, but you can find them at Rio. You want the carbon one, just FYI, because they do come with the ceramic ones. If you think I'm struggling now with this carbon one, with the heat sink, trust me, the ceramic ones are even worse. Yeah, I'm gonna go grab the other jump ring here, the last jump ring. So they're not terribly expensive, but it's a great little tool to be doing something like this. Again, just go back and heating everything because I can. Get it nice and hot. Ugh. See, it's amazing how much heat this is taking to get this to happen. Oh my gosh. So the question is, what would the ceramic mandrel be used for? Building on PMC? They use bigger torches. When you're using like an acetylene with the, see, I'm using a little tiny Gentec. This is like a number 7. So see how small that is? Typically people use like a number 2, and it's like really big and bushy. So you really should have enough heat when you do that. But I know a lot of you are working with butane, and no chance, absolutely no chance is it going to happen. I've tried and there's just not enough heat to overcome those the heat sink. Okay, that last one did happen. I was checking it as I was talking to you and throwing it in the pickle. Let's see if it comes out clean. We'll give it a good brush. See how it goes here. If you do get one of these, be careful. All these parts get really, really hot, so just don't go touching it. And I discovered this tool, believe it or not. I actually bought mine from an old jewelry store, and it had the ceramic one on there. It wasn't until much later that I was able to find the carbon one. Okay. Almost there. Almost there. Give it a second here. Let's see what it looks like. So hopefully it's going to come out to be a fun ring. I'll probably end up throwing this in the tumbler because there's just so many tiny little parts to to polish. I'm not in the mood today. Can you tell? I'm sure you can tell. I've already been challenged enough, have I not? Just nod and agree. So it's a really pretty day here in Northeast Ohio. The weather is absolutely churning. And so Mr. Titus gets to go out for a walk today. So there it is. I don't know, just sort of funky. Let's brush it. Let's see. Actually, it's polishing up okay. Sort of funky with all the little rings on it. I guess the true test here in a minute is going to be if I can see some of these are sticking up. I'm going to go ahead and throw this on a mandrel and see if it stays together. Now, if it doesn't stay together, you know what we're doing next Wednesday, right? We're going to be finishing this again. But let's just put it in. Oops, let's go with this guy. More like a 7.5. Wait, let's see. 7.5 or you an 8? 7.5 it is. I'm not going to say this is a fail, but I'm not going to say this is a success either. It's a something that you can do. If you really want to step up to the challenge of soldering, this is a pretty challenging project for soldering. And then you can make a bunch of jump rings too. So just to let you know, this is 16 gauge wire on the large ones, okay? So it's a bit heavier. A little too close there, sorry. It's a little bit heavier. So what I'll end up doing is, just to give it a little bit more depth, I will put patina on here. And, and one broke off. Okay, we'll finish this next week. It is just past 2. I have appointments to get to, so we will finish this up next week. But look at that. We'll patina this. We'll solder this guy on. I'll think about maybe even soldering more stuff on here. And to, I don't know, just make it a little bit, I'm finding it, even as bold as it is, I am finding it still a little boring. Like there's something missing. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Okay. Thanks for hanging out, everyone. Thanks for joining us and liking all the videos and sharing all the videos. We are on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and QTalk on Facebook. No Twitter today, but maybe next week. All right. We will see you on Friday if you're registered for that class. If not, I will see you on Monday for the rest of the castellated bezels. It'll be fun. All right. Have a good rest of the week.